Hello. So today what we're going to do is the second episode in the game engine series, and this is another 2D game engine. And what we're going to look at today is called Game Maker Studio. Now, Game Maker has been around for a very long time. It was one of the first game engines out there in 2D that did an excellent job. I used it in years past to make a couple of little mini games, a dungeon crawler, a little maze solver, and a matching game. I did it when I was very first learning game development that wasn't basic code or Commodore 64 code, so it was a while back that I did that. That being said, the interface has changed a lot and it has evolved and it has become a full on powerful engine where you can do a lot in it. Now, I know the new version does also have 3D in it as well, and there's networking and quite a few other things built into it, so it's come a long way. I don't pretend to know everything you can do or even how to do a fraction of the stuff in this new version of the engine. I don't even remember the old one. It was like 20 something years ago. So there's a lot. It's come a long way. But what I am going to do is I'm going to give you a basic overview. I'm going to slap a quick character on, top down, make a move in 4 directions, throw a background image on. Nothing fancy at all. I just really want to just show you the interface and show you the basics of how things are done, and then you can figure it out from there. So I've just fired it up after installing it, and I've played around with it a little bit. I got these projects here that I was just playing around so I could learn the interface on a blank shell. Well, this one I actually messed up the GUI because you can move it all around and everything, and I lost part of it. So, yeah, I just installed this like an hour ago. Not even an hour ago. I downloaded an hour ago, installed it, went in the house, came back. Yeah, so I've spent maybe 20 minutes in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go new, and you can choose from games, live wallpaper, or game strips. And I think these are just browser enhancements or something. I don't know. Let's see. Pimp your browsers and desktop by creating your own personalized wallpaper. And level up your browser by creating your own Opera GX game strip mod. Oh, right, because when I installed this, it had a checkbox if you wanted to install the Opera browser engine. I chose no because I use Edge for all my stuff. Okay, over here to games. That's what we're interested in. So, blank game, 2D shooter template. It looks like a top-down action scroller game. Shooter game, basically a 2D tower defense, I think. Survivor game, that's probably go out and collect things, avoid animals, etc., etc. Puzzle game, slide things around, solve the picture. Match 3 game, everybody's familiar with Bejeweled, etc., etc. Breaker, arachnoids, breakout, you bounce a ball off a paddle and it breaks bricks at the top of the screen. Tower defense, basically creatures swarm you and you gotta stop them from breaking your stuff or taking over. So, yeah, but we're just gonna start with a blank game here, and we're gonna go blank game 2, and we're gonna say let's go. So now it's going to launch into here and you get your typical game editor. So what we've got here is our assets tab over here. So it's on the right rather than the left, and the inspector is on the left rather than the right. So they've just switched that. Now these are dockable. You can actually move them around and do what you want, but when I tried doing that, one, I lost my asset bar. It didn't become dockable anymore. It was a pop out and it was floating and it covered up stuff. So, and then I also thought, well, I probably shouldn't do that anyway. I shouldn't try to make it look like other engine editors. I should leave it stock when I give this overview tour. So that's what that other project was I'd broken that off. So here is the interface when you first start. So what you've got is basically a workspace, one, which that's your stage. So then you build your scenes in there, which in this case are your rooms. So to start, what we're going to do is we're going to go down here to Objects, right-click, Create, and what we want to do is we want to create a new room. So there's a room. So basically a room is a scene in this. So we've got it. So the workplace is your stage, and the room is your scene. So I've got got a scene open here. And you'll see how that comes into play shortly. So now we've got this empty scene and we've got a background. So I want to go to the background and I want to go to the editor. And I'm going to assign a sprite. I don't have one, so I want to bring one in. So I need to do that. So I'm going to come over here, right click, new, create, sorry, not new, create, and we're going to go sprite. And now I have gone to the liberty of pre-preparing 2 items. So what I'm going to do is drag this Arctic backdrop scene in. Yes, I want to continue. And that's fine. We're going to orient to the top left. There's my origin button. So it's important to know your origin button because if you do any rotating, scaling, collision detections, whatever. Well, collision detections have a collision box, but this is going to be your point of reference. So if you rotate around that or scale or mirror or anything, that's going to be the point of reference. So your origin point's important. Okay, so now we just close that. We have sprite 1. So now I come back over here to my sprite, sprite 1. I want to go here, no sprite. Now I can choose sprite 1. And then I'm going to click on this. Now can I scale it? Vertical tile, stretch. Yeah, there we go. Perfect, we're gonna just stretch. So what we want to do is stretch that. It fills the screen, we're happy. Okay, cool. So now we're just gonna take a quick look at that, see how that looks. It's gonna do a quick compile. And I see nothing. So why do I see nothing? I'm not sure why I see nothing. Room order. Room 1, room 2. Oh. So I created a new room and I already had one. Room 1. Room 2. Let's delete room 2. Okay. Room 1. And then room 1, we're going to do the same thing, I think. And we've got it opened. And background on room 1. Sprite. And we're just going to go down here. Choose that sprite. And again, we're going to go stretch. Perfect. Now we're going to play, and that should play because I had a duplicate room. There we go. That's what we wanted. So we got our nice Arctic wasteland. So now what we want to do is object. I'm going to go add, create an object. All right, and object 1, but we're going to call it Barney the Bear. Perfect. Okay. And we don't have a sprite. That's fine. Okay. Oh, I can't use, sorry, object 1, Barney Bear. Fine. Okay, Barney Bear. And so we've got him. He's good. We can edit him in a minute. But what we're going to do is we're going to come back over here. And we're going to go create new sprite. And we're going to pull in. We're going to pull in my bear. Now here's where I was telling you about origin points, how they're important. We need to actually move this origin point right here. I want him to be a pivot right at his shoulders, right at the hump on his shoulders. So that's when he turns, he's going to turn right there. All right, now usually you do a little further back so that he's exactly centered, but I want kind of a little bit of a lumbar jolt to him when he switches. I don't know if it's going to make a difference, but that's what you can do. Now in here you can also edit the image, and I can set up an animation where he lumbers, and I might just do that by adding it, and we're going to go right click, duplicate frame. Okay, now this frame we're going to go, if I can do it, I don't, can I mirror it here? There should be a way. I don't want to mirror the brush tool, I want to mirror the image. No. Usually there's a way to just mirror these right there. Well, I'm not going to spend the time to figure that out. There's lots of ways to do it usually, so yeah, I'm just going to delete that. And I'll leave it as a still image that we move around. It's not worth the time to figure it out, but I'm sure there's a way to do it in here. I just don't know what it is. So, all right, so we're going to close Sprite 2 off. We've got Sprite 2 here, and yeah, nothing really here. Collision 9 slice. Yeah, I'm not worried about it. Okay, and we're going to close that. Exit. Perfect. Okay, so now we want to come back here to my object, Barney the bear, and then we're going to choose for sprite the bear sprite. So now we've got the bear sprite. Perfect. Okay, now what we want to do is make sure that he's on the screen, room 1, and we're going to drag the object of Barney the bear over onto the screen. Create. Perfect. There we go. Barney the bear's on the screen. But I want to change his size. He doesn't need to be so ginormous on our screen. Perfect. That'll do. All right. There we go. We got a Barney the bear on the screen. All right. So now what I want to do is I want to go back into my workplace here. And you can see that we've got this events set up here. So this is for the object. The sprite is just representative of this object. So now what we need to do is we need to add controls. So I'm going to add an event. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an event, key pressed, left. All right, and now it's prompting me, because this is the first time I've run this in here. It wants to know, do you want to use our GameMaker language code, or do you want to use GML Visual? I'm going to choose GML Visual because they're just little buttons you drag in. Otherwise, you're coding kind of like a cross between C# and JavaScript. It's their own language. You can see here a little example like global.playerControl equals. So very, very much a script. GML Visual, you drag these little buttons that represent actions and set the attributes for it. And so for this sort of thing that I'm doing, this is just going to work better. And it's easier, and I am very much a script kiddie, not a coder. So I can code a little bit, but it's really a chore for me. So I'm going to use the visual language orientation. And I'm just going to say, don't ask again for this project, and hit OK. Okay, so now we've got this open. And this is something that I found drove me nuts, was that trying to fit this all on screen didn't really work, and I had to minimize out. There should be a little scroller down here, or you should be able to mouse wheel in and out, but as you can see, I'm mouse wheeling, nothing's happening. I'm right clicking, dragging, nothing's happening. I'm left clicking, dragging, nothing's happening. It's just in these here. So they should have a wheel to zoom in and out, but they don't. At least not that I can find. So I need to do that. So I'm just going to drag that over to here because I don't really need to see this. And here are the things used. Now they're pretty small, but if you mouse over, you can see. So these are common events. assign a variable, declare a temporary, set a global variable. So, and then if anyone who doesn't know, a global variable means it affects the whole game. So it will carry throughout all the rooms. Whereas just declaring a variable is only going to be assigned to this object or to this scene. And when you move on, it will disappear. Generally speaking, it's to the object that you're creating. And so there's all sorts of things here that you can assign, right? The ones we're interested in here are going to be, so this is the left key is pressed. So the first thing we want to do is we want to set the instance rotation because he's pointing down right now. So we want to put down and we're going left. We want to go minus 90. So we want to turn counterclockwise 90 degrees. Perfect. Then the next thing we want to do is we want to add some movement. So I'm going to go set direction fixed, left. We want to move him left. Now you can do 8-button direction or whatever, it doesn't matter. But I'm going to do that. And I am going to do set speed. And we're going to set speed of 3. And now there is friction here somewhere. Let me look. Apply set friction. 1. So what that's going to do now is I've set up the controls for the left-handed side here. So it's going to rotate him minus 90 degrees to the left. It's going to move him to the left at a speed of 3 with a friction of 1 so that he won't just keep going forever. He'll actually slow down and stop if you take your button off the key. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to make sure that that works by doing a test run. And I'm going to use the left arrow key. And you can see he's moving. Now I could change that speed. I could change that friction. So I'm going to set the friction here, 0.5. And I'm going to set the speed to, I don't want it relative. So you can check that box for relative. I don't want it though. So I'm going to set the speed to 5. And this one is relative. I'm going to try this one at relative 0.5. And let's just give that a try and see what that does because that might just slow it down. So he's moving more, but that relative doesn't seem to really be... I think the relative is cumulative, so if I turn that off, we should be good. Try that one more time. Yeah, that's good. We can move them around. All right, cool. And I'm actually going to set that at 0.25. Don't really need that much friction, so that's fine. Okay, cool. So now we're just going to recreate that for the others. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to add a new event. And it's going to be the same thing, key pressed, right. And so we're going to start again with the rotation. Now this time we want to go 90 degrees because we want to turn 90 degrees from 0 because everything always references the 0 point on the bear here. So we've got that. Oh, now we want to go and I want to add the movement. And we're going to go right this time. And we're going to add the speed. We're going to do the same thing, 5. And then I'm going to add the friction again. And we're going to set it to 0.25. Now we're going to do the same thing here. Add event, key down, up. We're going to do the same thing here. Rotating is going to be first in the list. But this time we want to go not 90 degrees, we want to go 180 degrees because we want to do a 180 flip. We want to go straight up. Then we're going to come down here again and we are going to add, let me just hover over that, set direction fixed, and we're going to go up. And we are going to go set speed 5, and then we want friction 0.25. Then we want to add another event, key pressed, down, and then we want to add rotate 0. We want to leave it at 0. Now you need to put the rotate in, or else it's still going to be pressing whatever the last button pressed was. So if you pressed up, you'd still be facing 180 and it would just move it down. So you still need to set instance rotation, but you need to set it to 0. So that's important to remember. A lot of people forget that and wonder why their thing isn't changing around. And then set direction fixed, down, speed 5, friction 0.25. Perfect. All right, and now we're going to play that. So I'm going to go this way. And you can see me wander around this iceberg here. So there we go, a very simple game. And you could set up collisions and things so that when the bear hits, if you set up so that you can only follow that glacier, this path here, you could set up collision blocks here so that you couldn't walk over the mountains and you had to follow a path. I mean, maybe the goal is to walk from here all around here and then to collect a seal. Or you walk from here maybe all around up to here, collect the seal, then maybe you got to walk back here and walk off here onto the next screen and it loads the next room. So there's all sorts of things you can do there. But anyway, that's pretty much where I'm going to leave it. You can add all sorts of other things. I'm just going to go here to create and show you that there's all sorts of stuff. You can add scripts, sequences, shaders, sounds, sprites, tile sets, timeline. And some of the controls are like move to next room, change rooms, etc., etc. And yeah, so that's where I'm going to leave this one. It just kind of gives you a little, kind of just a taste starter of Game Maker, but not enough to get me in any trouble showing you how to do anything, because to be honest, I've been away from this engine for so long that I really don't know how to do stuff in it. But you can see it's been modernized. It's got visual flow to it. It's got action buttons and scriptlets built in. Pretty easy to manage your sprites and your objects. It's a really, really popular game engine. There's a ton you can do with it. And now they offer a free tier to it. So I definitely recommend checking it out. And we will see you in the next video, because that brings us to an end.